Hello, welcome to this episode of The Martial Truth. I want to open my own dojo, okay? So before we get into that, as usual, please like button, subscribe, consider becoming a member. Over the next few days, I'll be filming a bunch more new stuff, getting it up there for the members, including a bunch of Shihekwan feeding crane things, some Mariyoshi stuff, some self-defense. So a couple of things coming over the next couple of days, also over the next couple of weeks, okay? I will be in Okinawa from December 5th to December 12th. Okay, I arrive on the 5th. I leave on the early morning of the 13th. I've already made some arrangements to visit some dojo and visit some people, and hope to hook up with a few other people on there. If anybody's interested in getting together that watches this, that's on Okinawa, please reach out. Love to meet people. Go to lunch, talk, visit your dojo. If you're training at a dojo, it would be fantastic. All right. So let's talk about, so you want to open your own dojo. So I'm a Shodan in Isshinryu Karate. Obviously, this is early 1980s. Not nearly as many dojo around as there are now. I get the opportunity to be able to teach karate 2 nights a week at a sports and arts center in Manhattan. Literally right around the corner from Gracie Mansion, where the mayor lives. So it's a very wealthy area, okay? And I was there for a few years. I built up the program, but we did a split. So whatever I brought in, I got half, they kept half. And so it was incumbent on me to build up the program, and the more I built it up, obviously the more money I made, right? They were happy with that for a few years. Then eventually they wanted me to dramatically increase the cost of the dues. And I decided to leave and go rent space from a private school, the Dalton School, which is only a few blocks away. And I made a very reasonable, situation with the Dalton School. They didn't try to kill me financially, and I was there a few years. And then I realized I couldn't be a cop in Brooklyn and have a dojo in Manhattan. So for a couple of years, I didn't have a dojo. I was just teaching basically at my first instructor's school. Then we opened up a dojo together, us and 4 other people, which I lasted a year at. I was getting treated like garbage and teaching virtually every class, treated like garbage. And I left. And that was a storefront school. It's still there. Pretty much everybody's gone, including him. He passed away, but everybody else is gone. They've all left. So what I did then is I decided I was going to go out on my own. And I said, well, how should I do this, right? I didn't have the money to go storefront because I didn't have any students. I had like 3 students or 4 students that came with me from that dojo when I left. So I saw there was a dance school in my town, and I went there and I said to her, hey, do you have any nights available that I could rent your space? And she says, oh, no, I have classes every day. She goes, but I have a basement. I said, oh, do you use the basement? She says, no. I said, oh, could I see it? She says, sure. So she takes me downstairs, and it was a very Spartan, right? I'm wearing my Spartan shirt today. A very Spartan space. Concrete walls, concrete floor, concrete ceiling, some pipes running through, but, not too low. Weapons were tough there. Ceiling was a little low for that, but the price was right, very reasonable. And I started off renting 2 nights a week teaching karate. So I had 1 kids class, and then I had 1 adult class. Okay. And, again, built it up. Then after a couple months, I said, hey, I'd like to rent 3 days a week. And reasonable, the added cost. I told her what I could pay. She says, great. Before you know it, I do 5 days a week, and then I'm up to 7 days a week. And I'm teaching, Isshinryu Karate, Mariyoshi Kobudo, Sosui Shitsuru Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm teaching those 3 arts there. Slowly, I'm building up. I'm getting a lot of kids. I'm getting a lot of adults. And again, I'm just giving her rent every month. And by now, I'm giving her a pretty decent amount of money. Now, I've also had to invest in equipment. I have mats, makiwaras, pads, heavy bags, just go through the list. You know what you need. So this is all money I'm laying out and I have to spend. Now, Here's the difference. I didn't need to make money from that. I had a full-time police job, full-time health benefits, okay? My wife had a really good job, okay? So as long as, and there were times in the beginning when I first started this up where I did have to take money from the house, as I like to say. The money that was coming into the house to pay our house bills, I had to take some of that because I wasn't making enough to cover certain things. But after a couple of years, the dojo was kind of going well. Making a little bit of money, but like I tell people, could I quit my real job? Absolutely not. So, I'm doing a 5-day-a-week police job, and I'm doing a 7-day-a-week dojo. Now, by this point, I have a couple of black belts, so they're starting to help, so I have some help and stuff, and everything's good, right? So that's how I was able to do it. I had a real job. I didn't have to rely on the income from the dojo to pay my bills. In the beginning, it was the opposite. Some of the money from the house was being used to pay those bills. Okay? So, I often get asked by people, hey, I think I want to try to start my own dojo. And what I recommend them is, I say, well, try to find a community center, try to find a church, try to find a dance school or some other place where, they have a room, and say, hey, would it be possible for me to start up a class here? Now keep in mind, you may have to get insurance for yourself if you're not covered under that place's policy, which I could tell you now, if it's a community center or a church, you're probably not going to be. So you're going to have to carry insurance. And, the cheapest insurance you're probably going to find a year is about $500, which isn't crazy, but just keep that in mind, okay? If you're saying to yourself, well, no, I'm going to do a storefront. I'm going to go to a storefront. Okay. So you got to realize, depending on where you're at, your monthly rent is going to be pretty good. Now, if you're in a different state, it may not be like New York, but I can tell you in New York, it was pretty high. And then you add phone, internet, electric, okay, right? Gas, right? Because in New York, you have gas and electric, right? And you're talking in the summer when it's hot, got to run the air conditioner. In the winter, in New York school, we didn't really have to run the heater too much unless it got really crazy, like single digits. But, once you started working out, the heat held in. It also helped. We had stores on either side of us, and we had apartments above us. So that helped insulate and not let the heat go anywhere. All right. But you're talking about a lot of other costs. Again, I mentioned insurance. Okay. If you're going to get a storefront, you're going to spend some money on advertising. Even if it's just putting new signs with specials in the window, you're going to have to get those signs made. Okay. You're going to have to, your initial investment is going to be substantial. Why? Well, because you have to make it look like a dojo. Okay. This is going to be big money. Okay. So don't think it's not. Now, even if you have students that can do some of the work, okay, well, depending on where you're at, if you're putting up walls and running new electrical lines and stuff, the town you're in may demand that they want to inspect it. Okay? So you have to have licensed electricians. You have to have people that are licensed to do the work. Okay? So just realize this is all going to cost you money. Okay? So when I moved from my location in Queens to my location in Floral Park, which is a location that's still there, James Waller still runs the school. Okay? It cost me a lot of money. I had to build walls because it was a change of use, okay? Meaning it was a dry cleaner. Now it was becoming a martial arts school. So once I was given the okay by the town, which was a hearing, right? I was informed, oh, by the way, you have to have a handicap bathroom. Okay, but I don't really, no, that's a federal requirement. Okay, so now I'm putting in a brand new bathroom. Do the math, okay? I had to build out two small dressing rooms, right? Had to build out a small office area. Luckily, the floor that the landlord had installed was oak tongue and groove. Fantastic, perfect for a martial arts school, okay? But then you've got, even little things, okay? Benches for people to sit on when they're waiting for their kids in the front, okay? A shoe rack. weapons racks. Now, a bunch of them I made, but some of them I didn't. Some of them I purchased, okay? The list just goes on and on and on. A heavy bag, makiwara, okay? A heavy bag arm to hang on off the wall, okay? Kettlebells, dumbbells. Well, the list just goes on and on and on. Now, some of the stuff I had from the other school, the mats, just brought them over. So great, didn't have to buy new mats. But I didn't have that kind of heavy bag stand, so I had to buy a new one, okay? So again, all these things add up and start costing a lot of money. And I can tell you now, you can plan it and say, okay, this is going to cost me $25,000. And I can tell you it's going to probably cost you double that when you're all said and done. So just keep that in mind. All right. So the dojo I'm sitting in right now on my property in Arizona, which, where did I get the idea for that? Well, Dan Smith. Dan Smith out of Georgia is a senior karate and kobudo sensei. He invited me to an event he had down in Georgia a few years ago. Part of it was held on his dojo on his property at his house. And when I saw that, I said, oh my God, this is a great idea. I would love to be able to do this someday. So when we got the acre and a quarter in Arizona, my wife and I planned it, okay? Had this building built. The building was delivered whole. The building was $24,000. Running the electric was $14,000. Air conditioning was $4,000 to $6,000. Spray foam installation was about $2,000. Okay, feel free to add it up. Then I've got to buy the paneling to put on the ceiling, the walls, the flooring, okay? Build the dressing room, build a half wall here, right? Okay, right? Shutters for the windows, so I can close the shutters when we're doing kobudo so the windows don't get broken with a weapon. Okay, right? So, get the idea? This is on my property. Now, we budgeted it, so it was great. It worked out great, right? But, yeah, a lot of money. But this is it for me. I'm not going anywhere else, okay? This is it for me. This is my final dojo. So, maybe my wife comes out, finds me dead out here one day, because that might be where I go. Who knows, right? Hopefully I'd be another 40 years, but nobody knows, right? But so I'm just giving you an idea of what the costs are, okay? Right? I just had to purchase all new mats for this place that cover the whole floor. Okay, $200 a mat. Okay, so at least $200 a mat. So it's about 6 or 8 mats. No, excuse me, 3, 6, 9 mats. So 9 mats times 200. Do the math. Okay. Now I have them, so I don't have to purchase them again. Okay, but just so we understand just what these costs are for running a dojo. Okay, so highly recommend, if you're going to go down this path, you start renting space a couple of days a week. Community center, dance school, fitness gym, church, school, whatever, right? Build up your program. You decide you want to take the plunge and go storefront. You save your money, you do it, but just realize it's a tremendous amount of work, a crazy amount of work, all right? The school in New York goes 7 days a week. My school right here out in Arizona, regular classes, 4 days a week. Children's classes, Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. Then Ishinryu, Matayoshi classes, Tuesday night. Chen Taiji, Practical Method, Tuesday night. Thursday night, same thing, but kids kobudo instead of karate on Tuesday. Then karate, kobudo, and kotori on Thursday, right? And then Wednesday morning, there's a jiu-jitsu class, an early morning class, 9 to 10. And Saturday morning, there's 3 hours of class also, okay? Now, I'm doing a lot of Zoom classes. So I'm doing anywhere from 6 to 10 Zoom classes a week. So I'm out here doing the Zoom classes, okay? So the dojo's getting work, all right? Again, the building's paid off, the electrical's paid off. I don't owe anything on anything, so any money that comes in is great, contributes to the house, contributes to if I want to travel somewhere like Okinawa or whatever, it helps, right? I don't charge a lot of money out here, okay? I don't charge a lot of money at all. People are shocked at what I charge, all right? But it's at my house. If someone comes, I don't like them, I tell them, this place isn't for you. I don't want you as a student, Okay. So let me tell you a couple of things. I've had many students throughout the years say they want what I have. And they're looking at what I have, not realizing that it might have taken me 15 to 20 years to get to what I have. Okay. It was a process, a long process. It's a process I'm still working on, still trying to get better at, right? So they'd get a storefront, and then they'd want me to come to their grand opening. I go to the grand opening. I look at the storefront. I look inside the dojo from outside. The dojo doesn't look finished. Again, if you're going to do it, it's got to look right. Like everybody that's come into any of the dojos that I designed, okay, including that original one I was partners in on Metropolitan Avenue, which is still there. When you go in that dojo, any of those students that watch this podcast, I designed it. So the way that dojo looks is because of me. I was the one that designed it. I did architectural renderings, my degree's in art and advertising design, and we did everything based on my drawings, okay? And then as I move from space to space, I tried to get a little smarter, use the space better, okay? So nobody ever walks into a My Calandra space and goes, wow. No. Everybody walks in and they're like, wow, Sensei, this is really nice. Like people have walked in the New York school, wow, Sensei, this is some dojo. Wow, Arizona, wow, Sensei, this is so nice, right? I just had a guy come last Friday. As soon as he walked in, he was like, wow, this place is amazing, right? That's what I want. I want people to come in and I want the dojo space to create a feeling, okay? To create a feeling for training. So it's important if you're going to do that. Now, if you're renting space, you're limited. You might be able to hang something or set up a table and put some stuff up, but you're going to be limited as to what it can look like, okay? And that's okay, all right, because you don't have the big overhead. It doesn't matter, But if you're talking a business, it's got to look like a business. It's got to look professional. If it doesn't look professional, it's going to fail, okay? It's going to fail. Simple as that. And I can tell you, in the time I was in the Floral Park area, which was Belrose and Floral Park, which now is going on almost 35 years, I probably saw 25 to 50 dojo come and go. Yeah. Everybody thinks it's easy. Had one guy renting my space. He says, I'm going to start my own dojo. Only taught one martial art. Okay. I said, you sure you want to do that? I think you need to think about it. No, he did it. He eventually closed it. It didn't last. It's very hard. Again, in New York, I've had a dojo in one form or another since 1983. Even Master Shimabuku sent me a letter a couple of months ago congratulating me on the 40th anniversary of my dojo. And I didn't even realize it was the 40th anniversary. Okay, so it's a long time. Okay. And he's going by the first dojo I had in New York City near the mayor's residence, Gracie Mansion. That's the first time he came and taught a seminar at my dojo, was over in that space. So that's what he considers when I first opened my dojo. So I've told you a lot of things you need to consider. Okay, some of the things that you need to consider too is just because you're a black belt and you got really good karate doesn't mean you can teach karate. Doesn't mean you can run a business. If you have no idea how to run a business, okay, like I made tons of mistakes, okay? But I asked friends of mine that ran businesses and they made suggestions, okay? If you have no business experience, well, you better have someone that does and that can help you a little bit, because if not, don't forget, you have to form a corporation, okay? You have to get a tax ID number. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do, okay? And then can you interact with people? Meaning, like parents. Parents come in, they're not joining. They want to sign their kid up. Well, how do you come across to parents? Like you may think this isn't a big deal. It's a huge deal. Okay, here's another thing I'll mention if you're going to have a dojo. It better be clean. Okay, I can tell you now, it better be clean. Mom's coming in, they go into the bathroom's dirty, it's not clean. You're not going to keep that kid long. Okay, so you've got to keep the place clean. Okay, so again, simple, basic things. Can you talk to people? Do you have a good gift of gab? You run a dojo, they can't be favorites. What I mean by that is you can't have cliques. If you have cliques in the dojo, you got a big problem. Okay? We often say in the New York school, we've had people leave. We've had senior black belts leave. And again, when these people leave, they think, oh, the school's going to go under without me. It just keeps right on rolling along. Again, nobody's irreplaceable. I left the New York school. The school's still rolling along. Okay, so nobody's irreplaceable. All right, so don't think so highly of yourself or whatever, right? And we often say that. Sometimes with a dojo, it's addition by subtraction. Guys are pain in the ass with students. You get rid of them. 3 or 4 people come up to you and say, "Oh, thank God that guy's gone." Oh, okay. Now you think, well, did some people quit because of that guy? So can't play favorites. If a guy's an asshole, well, then maybe you got to bounce him. Okay, that's just the way it goes. I've bounced many people out of the school throughout the years. Many people. All right, for many different reasons. Okay, the way they acted towards others, the way they acted. Period. The way they trained with others. Maybe they were, a little too rough, like to hurt people. Yeah, you're gonna go. You're out. You're out the door. All right. So these are things you need to realize. All right, if you decide to take this plunge. So when I let the students in New York know that I was moving to Arizona, I got all the black belts together and I said, listen, this is not a drill. This is happening within the next couple of years. I will be moving to Arizona. Now, this is what I said to them. I know some of you are standing here and thinking, oh, Sensei's not going to leave New York. Okay, he's not. I looked at him, I said, okay, I'm telling you, I am gone. So you guys need to make a decision. All right. Either you, and it just so happened, it was coincided with the end of the lease. Okay, 10-year lease. It was coincided with the end. So I said to them, okay, you guys need to decide if one of you want to take the responsibility of taking over the school. Okay? So I said, think about it. Jimmy Waller comes to me a couple of weeks later. He says, I think I want the challenge of trying to run the school. I said, okay, look, you got all these other senior black belts, and there's guys that are senior to Jimmy there. But that's great, and there's been no problems. He's run the school 3 years. There's been no problems. Everybody gets along, right? No problems, okay? If one of the guys is senior to him in karate, he goes to that guy if he's got a question. And that's the way it should be, okay? But he's responsible for the financial end of the school. So the buck stops with him. So if he's got to make a decision, other people don't like it, well, that's the way it is. But what I did was, once he decided that, I took a bit of a step back with the teaching. So I let the other guys teach a lot of classes. And I would stay off the floor a little bit to the side. Sometimes I was in the office, which I could still hear them teaching. And then I might go out, and if they taught something in a way that I thought wasn't the best, then I might make a suggestion. Well, you might want to approach this subject like this. Okay, so I started getting them ready, and not only them, I started getting the students ready for the fact that I was not going to be there. Okay? So time comes, Jimmy takes over the school. I still have stuff there that I have to bring back. Every time I go, I bring some more stuff back, right? But he takes over the school, and probably within 4 to 6 weeks, he calls me and he goes, listen, I just want to tell you, I thought I knew how much work this was going to be, and I was totally wrong. I can't believe what you've been doing all these years. I can't believe you did this with a full-time police job and raising 3 kids. Jimmy's retired. So now, it's just a dojo. He does some other things, Chinese medicine doctor, but that's not full-time, right? And he's like, I can't believe how hard this is, how much work this is. I said, oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate that now someone realizes just the amount of work that has to go in to doing this. So again, if you're going to take the plunge and open a dojo, unless you have a lot of money. If you have a lot of money, God bless you. Open the dojo, make it beautiful. If you're not worried about the money, yeah, then don't even pay attention to what I'm telling you. But if you don't have a lot of money, you want to rent space a couple of days a week, find a church, school, a dance school, okay, community center. Say, I'd like to run a martial arts program, okay, and then go forward from there. And you may decide that, you may find it funny that you're making a decent amount of money just doing those 2 days a week. And what I'll tell you is you may find that if you go to a storefront, you may not be making that money because you're going to have a lot more bills, a lot more overhead, Okay, that's why in New York I had a yoga teacher there for 20-something years. Okay, we shared and we split it. Whatever she brought in, I took half. I had a guy teaching Aikido. We split it. I had another guy teaching Eskrima there. We split it. Okay, I had other guys teaching Tai Chi before I became a Tai Chi instructor. We split it. I had cardio kickboxing there for a while. All right, when my wife was teaching it, obviously, right? But then when other women were teaching it, when my wife couldn't do it, split it. I had someone renting the space for dance for a while. Again, you're paying for that space 24 hours. You need that space to generate income to pay your bills. When you're just renting space 2 days a week, you're not paying for electricity. You're not paying for water. You're not paying for gas, for heating. Okay? You're not. All right? So there's a lot less overhead. So you want to keep these things in mind if you think about taking the plunge. And the biggest thing you got to realize is, I'm hoping you've had a few years of experience teaching in whatever school you train in. And I'm hoping that the people that you teach love the way you teach your classes. You know, when I left the first school, right, I was teaching all the classes, okay? And I left. And I told them I wasn't coming back, and they lied to everybody and told them that I had changed shifts at my police job, that I'd be back. Well, why? Because most of those parents signed their kids up because who was teaching the kids' classes? Me, right? Okay. Now one of those parents runs into my sister on the street and says, hey, how's Mike doing? Because he'd met my sister, right? Oh, he's doing really good. When's he coming back? What are you talking about? Well, they said he changed his shift. He's going to be coming back to the school soon. My sister looks at him and says, he's never going back there. He opened his own school out in Queens. Oh, could you give me your brother's number? Next thing you know, I had 4 or 5 kids from that school coming out to me because the parents weren't happy with the way that the person who replaced me was teaching the kids' classes. And their kids were complaining to them. So, of course, I was a bad guy because they left that school and came out to me. But that's not my problem. If they were good and they knew what they were doing, why would those kids leave? So it's very easy to blame me, right? So you have to have a rapport with students. You have to treat students with respect. You have to know how to teach the material. If you can't do those things, I would advise you not try and open a dojo. I've known many people that have tried to open dojos and crashed and burned. Okay? So just keep these things in mind. All right? Hope you've enjoyed this one. All right? I hope I've given you some pause if you're thinking about opening a dojo and rethinking it and really making sure before you take that plunge. It's a big plunge. Okay? Just think about it. All right? I get people that call me sometimes asking me for advice with opening a dojo, and this is the same type of advice I give them. I thought it would be a pretty good subject for, I'm sure some of you in the comments will have horror stories maybe about you opening dojos or trying to teach classes and things not working out. It's just the way it is, okay? So hope you enjoyed this one. If you liked it, please click that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. Consider becoming a member. Commercial-free membership videos there. A lot of instructional stuff, self-defense, all the different arts I teach. The podcasts, commercial-free there. You get them early, all right? And you consider buying some of the products we have that scroll across the bottom of this video, all right? And next week I'll be doing an interview, so we'll have some interviews coming up in the next few weeks, and I think the next podcast will probably be maybe one of the how-to ones, taking a look at something and explaining that. So I'll be getting out of this chair and demonstrating some stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.